For every great superhero, there comes an equally grand lineup of foes that test their skills, ingenuity, and morals to their absolute limits.
But very few can push said heroes to their absolute physical limits like today's combatants.
The Rhino versus Bane, the beast who squashed the spider versus the man who broke the bat.
He's one fish mob and I'm three crab mob, and it's our job to see who would win in all-out fan war.
The Mafia, feared for their violent tactics, organized crime, and near unmatchable influence. Whether you be a high-ranking elite or a simple grunt, everyone seeks only one thing.
Cold, hard cash. And for one guy, he was no different.
Alexei Sistovich was just your average thug working for the Mafia, dreaming of easy money to help support his family back in Russia. But as things were going, it looked like his life would be nothing but hard and very short.
But that all changed when a couple of scientists chose Alexei to be part of their experiments to make the perfect henchman. Mostly for his muscular body and low intelligence, to make sure he was loyal.
With the promises of wealth and power in return for his assistance, Alexei agreed, and after a series of life-threatening chemical and radiation treatments, he was transformed into something more.
That's putting it lightly. He went from a level 1 crook to a level 100 boss in the span of a year. No longer was he a mere thug. He was now an agent of destruction, and was given the brand new codename, the Rhino.
But while the experiments were a success, they did fail to make contingency plans in case Rhino were, how to say it, turn on them. And feeling cocky, Rhino did just that. And while he was now a force to be reckoned with, it wouldn't be too long until he met a worthy adversary. For when he arrived in New York City, he would cross paths with the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever a spider can, and one of those things he can do is hand the Rhino many defeats. But losing to someone arguably weaker than him only in turn made Rhino swear revenge on the wall crawler, and would keep breaking out of prison over and over again just so he could face off against the web slinger. And I mean, can you blame him for thinking he can? He's strong enough to lift at least 80 tons, tear through walls, and collapse buildings.
And that was before his second augmentation. After the first round of treatments, he went back to those same people and underwent further treatments, which only increased his strength beyond what he was originally capable of.
But it wasn't just simple chemicals this time around. This time it was gamma radiation. You know, the same green energy that created a certain jade giant who loves to smash. With this added dose of gamma, it made him strong enough to match Marvel powerhouses like The Thing, Juggernaut, She-Hulk, and even the Hulk.
To put this in perspective, the Hulk once punched his son, Scar, from West Virginia out of orbit back down to Maryland. By our researchers' calculations, this means, at most, the Hulk punched Scar was enough force to send him flying 160 million miles per hour. That's 2.40 times faster than light.
And this is actually consistent between both, because the Rhino once punched the superhero Nova straight into orbit. By using similar estimations, this means Rhino can hit someone hard enough to send them flying at 1.18 times faster than light. Weren't we just talking about street tiers? He was just... How do we get here?
His gamma treatments enhanced his strength so much, the Rhino and Hulk once matched each other blow for days on end. And sure, he did end up losing that fight, but also remember, the Hulk can destroy entire dimensions as a byproduct of his battles. The fact that Rhino survived this alone is honestly really impressive, and that's with some major highballing.
And despite his great size, he can sprint at really high speeds, able to outrun trains, ramming into objects like a missile, and react to opponents like Spider-Man, who could dodge lasers. Which means Rhino can react to people moving at least 186,000 miles per second. Though it's good to note that once he builds up good momentum, he struggles to do simple things like stopping or changing direction.
And if that wasn't enough, his Rhino suit acts as armor that further increases his strength, speed, and durability, and is so tough even the strongest of Marvel's heaviest hitters struggle to break it. Even without the armor, he is still able to take hits from other powerful opponents without a scratch. Even from his copycat. He's completely bulletproof, rocket-proof, and people injure their hands just by trying to punch him.
It even comes with a nifty horn that's tough enough to penetrate the hide of heroes tough enough to survive powerful explosions unharmed, like that of the Hulks, who can withstand Wolverine's adamantium claws.
You know, the adamantium claws that can cut through basically anything like a hot knife through butter?
Which makes it perfect for stabbing and ramming. You could say he really went up in the world. He became a member of various criminal organizations, helped Dr. Octopus's plan to kill 99.92% of earthly life, and it was so powerful his main rival Spider-Man could never defeat him in a straight up fight. He even succeeded in beating the guy to a pulp. Oh.
Heck, since Rhino is technically a gamma mutate, there is a possibility he has access to the Green Door, the source of all immortality amongst all Hulks. But since Rhino is not technically a Hulk himself, the chances of him having access to this cosmic gateway is highly unlikely.
Probably for the best. With what he has behind his back already, the last thing we need is for him to have immortality. He's already unstoppable as is.
Except for one tiny little detail. He is an idiot. Preferring to knock down everything in his way, he always chooses to charge into battle, which also probably played a part in his life falling apart, because he never once thought of what his family would think of his line of work. Realizing the error of his way, he would actually try to turn his life around. He even found true love. But legacies rarely ever fizzle out.
A new Rhino took his place, and wanting to truly ascend to the title, he sought the old one out, killing his wife in the process. Enraged, Rhino once again donned his suit and battled the new Rhino in a horn-to-horn duel, creating this massive explosion upon first contact, which we estimate to be around 0.3 tons of TNT.
And in one quick duel, the new Rhino was defeated, and with one last charge, the Rhino was back. And with help from his old rival, Rhino came back to see reason and decided it was time to turn his life around and become the man his wife would have wanted him to be. Oh my god. Oh, please. That wasn't going to last. Of course he went back to villainy.
Comics changing things up long term? Like that'll ever happen.
But still, to all those who wish to challenge Alexei at his own game, beware. For when you mess with the Rhino, you always get the horn.
Well, it's the itsy bitsy spider. All decked out, there's new threats. They ain't gonna look new for long.
Though many people are born without wealth, recognition, and sometimes even a home, very few can say they were born with as little as Bane. Long ago, when his criminal father died before he could serve his life sentence, it was decided his unborn child would take his place. And there, the young child's life was spent in the harsh confinements of Peña Duro.
Ooh, talk about sins of the father. But during his life in prison, he eventually fell from grace. Literally. When he lost consciousness, he met a future version of himself, who told him that if he conquered the power of fear itself, he would stand above all else.
And after the child awoke, he was determined to conquer fear itself. So he spent the following years building up his body, educating himself in multiple languages, escapology, among other things.
He quickly made a name for himself, one that was so feared the warden himself called him a bane to all things holy. And so, the name stuck. But this didn't go unnoticed, so the people running the prison forced Bane to become a test subject for a mysterious drug called Venom. No, not Marvel. No, get out of here.
And while these tests nearly killed him, he survived it and found the venom had greatly enhanced his physical strength, which he used to liberate all of Peña Duro, took the remaining venom to Gotham, and started a new gang with the prisoners now serving as his underlings.
And with this, his ambition turned to a new goal. You see, during his time in Peña Duro, he heard tales about a guardian who rules Gotham City through fear. Batman! And fully believing that the evil bat monster that haunted his dreams since childhood was the Dark Knight himself, he made it his new goal to destroy Batman. And to do this, he doesn't just use his underlings he took along with him, but also the venom he wanted.
While there has been many variations of the drug over the years, all strains of venom work the same. By injecting it straight into his brain, he can enhance his strength, speed, and durability to superhuman levels. And depending on dosage, he can choose how large and powerful he is at any given time. But on average, he's strong enough to knock down walls, punch through steel, rip people and demons apart, and once restrain Cheetah with his bare hands.
To put this in perspective, Cheetah is on par with superheroes like Wonder Woman, who moved 1/3 of the moon with fellow Justice League members Superman and Green Lantern. To do this, they had to be breaking the moon's gravitational binding energy, which we estimate to be about 1.24 joules. Which means Wonder Woman was pulling about 29 exatons during that ordeal. And Bane was able to hold her in place for a while. And thanks to his venom-induced upgrades, Bane's basically bulletproof, fireproof, blade-proof, and blunt force trauma-proof, able to take beatings from some of Gotham's toughest vigilantes and still get back up. And if something were to somehow hurt him, he just shrugs it off. Like the time Batman was infused with Superman's powers and decided to give Bane a good old high five straight through his chest.
By comparison, Superman, who Batman should scale to in this moment, once punched Lobo into orbit, which would mean he hit the main man himself hard enough to send him flying at speeds of at least 1.18 times faster than light.
Huh, deja vu. And yet, Bane survived getting hit by a guy with Superman's powers.
And despite Bane's bulky size, he's a surprisingly fast fighter, able to jump across rooftops, dodge gunfire, and move fast enough to appear as a blur. But ironically, the strongest muscle Bane has is his own mind. He's easily one of Batman's smartest villains. His intellect alone is said to be equal to leading experts in many fields of science, history, geography, and medicine. And he uses his great intellect to his advantage, from using a variety of blades and firearms in battle, using his own deduction skills to figure out Batman's secret identity,
from beating Ra's al Ghul, a man who's lived on for thousands of years, in a game of chess, or just simply learning new ways to break people in two. On or off the venom, Bane's one of Gotham's most formidable criminals. He's able to fight with metahumans and non-metahumans alike, self-taught himself in battle tactics and martial arts, mastering several fighting styles in the process while creating one of his own.
He is also just as stealthy as any member of the Bat family, able to stay out of sight of most combatants with such efficiency. Even people who made a career out of being stealthy are still surprised by him. Compiling that with all he's accomplished throughout his career as a professional criminal, Bane has not only made a name for himself in Peña Duro, but through the villain community itself.
He became a member of the Secret Six, Suicide Squad, and Secret Society of Supervillains, and quickly rose up the ranks to become one of Batman's most dangerous enemies, even beating many of his other villains to a pulp, including his former strongest enemy, Killer Croc. And with this, Bane's work eventually paid off, as he went from being the man who liberated Peñaduro to the man who broke the bat. Through years of hard work, suffering, training, and plenty of venom on his side, Bane finally conquered fear itself.
Except, because of its addictive nature, Bane has become reliant on venom in battle. Which, if he ends up using too much, he will not only lose all sense of reasoning, but it could also kill him. And if you want to make a fight with Bane a lot easier, all you need to do is just cut off his venom supply. With a simple snap of a tube or two, he will revert back to a normal person.
So if this is like his biggest Achilles heel, why has he not tried protecting these things a little more? Seriously, slap some Kevlar around them or something.
Which is why, at one point, he tried to kick his venom addiction, to prove to his enemies that he did not need it to defeat them. But after one single defeat, he quickly went back to using the stuff. Honestly, how fitting is that? He may have escaped prison, but he found himself trapped in a brand new one.
With that being said, venom or no venom, Bane can still be put down with enough force, which Batman has done in their subsequent rematches, including a few others. But as long as Batman patrols Gotham's skyline, the bane of his existence will forever cast a shadow over the Dark Knight for as long as he lives.
When we fought before, I broke the bat. Today, I break the man.
Alright, the combatants are set. This battle shall have no prep time, no outside help, or home field advantage.
It's time to see who would win a fatal conflict. Looks like Bane's attempt at Rhino poaching didn't turn out as planned.
This earth-shattering battle would definitely leave both hero and villain in awe. But in hindsight, it wasn't too hard to determine an exact victor in this tussle of muscle.
So to make it easier, we broke it down into 4 simple categories: physical might, speed, IQ, and exploitable weaknesses. In terms of overall strength and durability, the Rhino has displayed far greater feats of physical power than Bane.
He's matched powerhouses like the Hulk and the Thing, 2 heroes that far outclass Bane. And while his brief scuffles with Cheetah, Super Batman, and even foes like Mammoth proves that he's potentially up there with his universe's strongest characters, if we really highball it, Bane has never won a direct fight with these kinds of opponents. The Rhino, on the other hand, doesn't just outright duel with them on a far more consistent basis, but has basically claimed his spot among them.
When it came to durability, both have been shown to be able to take hits from some of their universe's most powerful characters, or those who could scale to them. But while Bane survived hits from them, he was still left severely injured by the end of it, while the Rhino was able to take hits from the equally powerful Hulk and similarly devastating attacks on a more regular basis, and just shrugs it off. And this is compounded with that near impenetrable armor of his, which only enhances his power.
At the end of the day, Bane is still just a normal man and can still be easily injured like one, while the Rhino is truly an unstoppable force.
Another category taken by Rhino is speed. While Bane has shown better agility than what Rhino has, the latter's already proven to have greater speed in both reaction and combat thanks to its fights with Spider-Man, whose instantaneous spider sense lets him dodge light speed laser beams. Even simple charges are so fast they're compared to missiles, while Bane at most can move and react at speeds faster than sound. That's a big speed gap, and that's with some major lowballing on Rhino's end.
And highballing on Bane's end. But the one category Bane does take is intellect. There is absolutely no contest here. Whereas Rhino is as simple-minded as a brute can get, Bane does more than just mindlessly rush into battle. He's a lot smarter and more skilled. He could strategize and think tactically.
Bane would quickly figure out it'd be in his best interest to stay out of Rhino's way, and could implement stealth in a similar way to Batman to use his opponent's momentum and P-brain against him.
Which is not too different from what Spider-Man does.
And finally, we get to the biggest question: who had the better augmentations?
In other words, who had the more reliable source for their powers?
Both gained their immense power from similar experiments involving chemicals. While Bane's venom would allow him to adjust his strength and endurance as seen fit, it only comes in a limited supply and only offers a temporary boost.
While Rhino's power came from 2 sources: his own permanent physical augmentations that will remain for the rest of his life, and his armor, which boosts said augmentations even further.
Now, it wouldn't be too much of a stretch to say Bane would deduce the Rhino's armor enhances his strength, and that removing it would weaken him. But said armor is able to withstand attacks from Hulk-level beings without a scratch, so it's unlikely that the far weaker Bane would even be able to scratch it.
Even without the armor, Rhino is still able to hold his own against a similar ilk, because, once again, his strength doesn't solely stem from the armor.
Unlike Bane's venom tubes, which by comparison are objectively more easier to sever.
Given just how easily physically weaker opponents can dispose of his venom tubes, Rhino would absolutely make short work of them, cutting off Bane's venom supply completely.
Once again, this is why you cover things in Kevlar.
Even with venom, getting that close to Rhino would still be risky, as it puts Bane within reach of Rhino's horn. A weapon that can pierce the near impenetrable skin of people like Grey Hulk and Juggernaut. One good swipe from that horn is all that's needed to turn Bane into mincemeat.
Bane may be a force to be reckoned with in the Gotham underworld, but in this Clash of the Titans, Rhino had the greater power, better augmentations, and a lot more ways to put Bane down for good. At the end of the day, Bane failed to grasp the point of this fight and could only watch as he was helplessly Rhino-owned.
The winner is the Rhino. But if you want to see a rematch between Bane and Captain America, this is what you have to do. If this episode gets 5,000 likes, there will be a rematch. But until then... Next time on Fan War.